Is nuclear off the table?
Well, I think, frankly, Laura, it's something that's bubbled away in the background for a long period of time, and our policy is that it's not on the table at the moment. But if that's to change, then that would be a decision of the shadow cabinet and the party room. I've always been a believer in the approach to climate change, that you look at the science, and if you look at what's happening in Europe at the moment, what the French have announced, what the Brits have announced, and others at the moment, the two major parties here rule it out. But if there's a change in that policy, then that's something that we could talk about at a future time. But I think we want to reduce emissions credibly, and I want to reduce the power price, not increase it, which is what Labor's policy is. So we should consider our policy, which we'll do in due course, and we can make announcements then about what our next steps forward would be.
All right, let's talk about women voters and the representation within your own party. Do you agree that something drastic is required for that parliamentary representation? And if it's not quotas, what is it?
Well, Laura, a couple of points here. I mean, we had some fantastic candidates at the last election. Women, people from multicultural backgrounds, people from a diverse range of life experiences who weren't successful, and that wasn't through a lack of party process of pre-selecting those women into winnable seats. We just weren't able to convince the public to vote for those women, and that's a problem not just in those seats, but other problems where good men lost those seats either as members of parliament or as candidates wanting to get into parliament. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to put the Liberal Party, the coalition, in a stronger position to win those seats in the first instance. The second point I'd make is that if you're in the Labor Party and you're a male or female candidate, you're housed in the union movement. I know candidates who have run against me in successive elections. They're out campaigning full-time, but they're on a full-time wage from the teachers' union, from the union that's sponsoring them. If they lose the election for the 3 years in between, they can go and work at an industry super fund, at a business that's aligned with the CFMEU. We can't do that in the Liberal Party. And business women, young women who want to come into our party are professional women who can't afford 3 years of full-time campaigning because their businesses would collapse. So we've got to look at the ways in which we can work more effectively to support them in the years when we're in opposition, because at the moment, it's a lottery ticket in the Labor Party, and we just don't have that golden ticket for women in the Liberal Party. And we've got to look at how we can work with business, or how we can provide support to people financially to see them through those tough years and to be elected. And that's not to detract from the incredible talent that we've got in the Parliament now, and women who are on the front bench and on the back bench. There's a more complete picture than what people give credit at the moment, Laura, and I'm going to be a champion of that, but a champion of good people and great candidates, because that's how we'll win the next election.
All right, let's talk about a few other things. Scott Morrison on the backbench. Does that make you nervous?
No, it doesn't. I think full credit to Scott Morrison for what he has done for our country, and I really pay tribute to him and to Jenny and to their girls. They've made an enormous contribution to our party, but to the country more generally. It's a huge honour to be the leader of the Liberal Party, and in his case to have been the Prime Minister, and our party will defend his legacy. We defend the legacy of our former leaders, and as the Labor Party does of theirs, as you would expect us to do. Our
Liberal leaders,
been through an incredibly tough period over the last couple of years.
Liberal leaders in recent history who've found themselves on the backbench after being in a position of leader and position of power have all promised not to meddle. They've all promised not to be miserable ghosts, but they haven't been able to keep that promise. Why would Scott Morrison be any different?
Well, Laura, I've worked very closely with Scott, and I believe him when he says, he said it in the party room yesterday, he's said it to me privately, that he's very much in the John Howard mould, and John Howard provides advice when it's sought. Scott Morrison rightly will defend his legacy and correct the record where people have said something that is inaccurate in relation to his contribution as the Prime Minister of our country. But I think he's gone to the backbench now. He's not sought a position on the front bench, and you know, we honour his service as a leader of our party and as a former Prime Minister of our country.
Do you think he'll stay there, or will we see a by-election sometime in this term?
Look, I think you know, the reality is that as we saw with Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard and others right since Federation, you would expect that there would be a by-election at some stage, but that's an issue for Scott to work on, and I'll have those conversations with him at the appropriate time. But I think for now, you know, a few days out of office, I'm sure he's concentrating on spending more time with his family, with his beautiful daughters, and just getting back to a normal life.
Well, we thank you for your time this morning. We look forward to seeing what more the Dutton era will bring. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you.